So here's the situation. It's 2025. You've got $100 in your account, a head full of questions, and dreams way bigger than your balance. Sound familiar? Maybe you've just started trading. Maybe you've been burned before. Maybe you're tired of fake gurus promising Lambos off penny stocks and flipping option plays on TikTok. Wherever you are, this series is for you. Welcome to Trading from Zero, what I'd do if I started with just $100 in 2025. And this isn't theory. This isn't hype. This is the raw psychological journey of what it's really like to start small and build something real. Look, most people on YouTube will tell you to flip your $100 into 1,000 by next week using this secret strategy or that no-loss indicator. I'm not going to do that because it's BS. This series is about what actually works, mentally, emotionally, and strategically, when you have almost nothing and you're trying to build a foundation. We're talking how to develop emotional discipline when your capital is tiny, why your mindset matters more than your strategy at the beginning, how to manage risk when every dollar feels like a punch in the gut, and most importantly, how to build trading habits that compound, even if you're only risking $1 a trade. This isn't for everyone. If you're looking for quick flips and dopamine hits, you'll hate this series. But if you're someone who genuinely wants to build skill, control your impulses, and play the long game, stick around, because what I'm sharing here, it's the exact process I'd follow if I had to start over today, from zero. It's real, it's raw, it's not going to be flashy, but it's going to be honest and powerful. Each of the 15 parts goes deep, with second-person narrative, real emotion, and practical reflection. You'll feel like I'm talking directly to you, because in a way, I am. You'll walk away from each part with mental tools, not just technical ones. And by the end of this journey, your account size might still be small, but you won't be. You'll be sharp, focused, dangerous in the best way. Because you won't just be trading setups, you'll be trading yourself with precision. So let's get into it. Chapter 1. The $100 Mindset Shift. You've got $100 in your hand, not $10,000, not $1,000, just one crisp Benjamin. And in 2025, that might not even get you a nice dinner for two. But this isn't about dinner. This is about transformation. This is about choosing to see that $100 not as a limitation, but as a launch pad. You feel it, don't you? The doubt, the skepticism, the voice in your head whispering, "This isn't enough, why bother?" But here's the first real lesson. The size of your account doesn't determine the size of your success. Your mindset does. Right now, most traders are obsessed with shortcuts. They chase hype, alerts, and quick gains. But you're not most traders, not anymore. You're here to build something deeper, something lasting. You're not looking for dopamine. You're looking for discipline. Because here's the truth. $100 won't change your life, but the way you learn to trade that $100, that absolutely can. You're not here to flip it overnight. You're here to build a framework, a mental foundation that will outlast any bear market, any rug pull, any fake guru promise. You're here to understand how markets move and why you move the way you do when money's on the line. So let's talk about your first task. It's not to trade, it's to train. You don't need charts yet. You need clarity. You need to sit down with a journal, yes, a real one, and answer a question most traders never ask themselves. Why do I want to trade? At first, the answers might come fast. I want freedom. I want to quit my job. I want to be rich. But go deeper. Why do you really want it? Is it control? Significance? Escape? If you don't know, the market will find out for you, and it will use that hidden desire to destroy you every single time. Maybe you've already been burned. Maybe you've seen that $500 you saved vanish in a week on meme stocks. Maybe you followed the wrong people. Maybe you've blamed yourself. That's okay. Own it. Don't run from it. That pain, it's your edge if you let it teach you. Let me be blunt. You won't succeed unless you rewire your relationship with risk, with patience, with loss. And no trading strategy in the world can do that for you. This is why we start with the mind, because you don't trade charts, you trade yourself. So here's your commitment. For the next 30 days, before you place a single trade, you're going to journal every day. Not about wins, not about entries, about you. How you feel when you look at your shrinking balance, how you react to a red day, how easily you get pulled into Twitter threads and FOMO trades, how you deal with boredom. Most traders never study these things, but the elite, they obsess over them, because your emotions are the hidden algorithms running your trading. If you ignore them, you'll repeat the same mistakes forever, just with bigger account sizes and more dangerous drawdowns. So this is your edge, brutal self-awareness. Now let's zoom out. With $100, your only job is to survive long enough to learn. This isn't about doubling your money in a week. This is about staying in the game. That means you need to let go of the idea that every trade has to win, that every day has to feel exciting. Most days won't. Most days will be boring, repetitive, even discouraging. And that's the point, because you're not building a highlight reel, you're building habits. The first of those habits, risk control. You're never going to bet the whole $100. In fact, you're not going to bet more than $1 to $2 per trade, maybe even less, because what you're doing now is learning how to manage risk when the consequences are small, so that one day you can manage risk when the stakes are real. You're building trading instincts, not gambling tendencies. And yes, at this level, that means micro wins. That means friction. That means frustration when fees eat half your profits. But it also means freedom, because you're no longer trading for money, you're trading for mastery. Let me tell you something that changes everything. Most successful traders lose money early. Some blow up their first accounts. But the ones that make it, they don't just study charts, they study themselves, and they develop something rare, emotional resilience. That means you can take a hit and not spiral. That means you can hold your rules when greed tells you to break them. That means you can miss a move and not chase it like a drug addict chasing a high. You don't develop resilience by winning. You develop it by falling, getting up, and choosing not to quit. So let's go back to that $100. It's not small, it's symbolic. It says, I'm serious, I'm ready, I'm not here for hype, I'm here for growth. So write that down, pin it to your wall, burn it into your mind. And understand, what you're starting right now is a war, not with the market, but with your own impulses, your own illusions, your own impatience. Win that war, and $100 becomes just the beginning. Chapter 2. The Inner Market. You're still holding that same $100. It hasn't changed, but you have. Because now, you're not looking at it like a shortcut. You're seeing it for what it really is, a mirror. That's the truth no one tells you. Trading doesn't just expose your knowledge, it exposes your identity. Every time you enter a trade, you're placing more than capital at risk. You're placing your emotions, your beliefs, your ego, your fears, right there on the table. And that's why so many people lose. Not because their strategy sucks, not because the market's rigged, but because they don't know what version of themselves is showing up when it's time to click buy. So now it's time to meet the trader inside of you. Because you don't trade charts, you trade yourself. Let's talk about impulse. You felt it before, that twitchy urge to buy something because it's moving. That voice in your head saying, if I don't get in now, I'll miss it. But who is that voice? That's not your rational mind. That's not your plan. That's your inner gambler. The dopamine junkie. The part of you that confuses risk-taking with progress. If you don't learn to separate your trading from your impulses, you'll sabotage every account you ever touch, even if it's $100,000 someday. So now, here's your new skill: emotional differentiation. It means you learn to feel the urge and still not act on it. You learn to observe your emotions like market data, something to be tracked, not obeyed. When you feel FOMO, you name it. When you feel greed, you track it. When you feel revenge after a loss, you breathe through it. This is the real training, not the strategy, not the setups, emotional execution. It's boring, maybe. It's not sexy, but it's what separates the burned out from the consistent, the blown up from the built up. Now let's bring this back to that tiny account. With $100, you can't afford to lie to yourself. You don't have the cushion to make 5 stupid mistakes in a row. That's your gift right now. Your size forces precision. It forces discipline. It demands respect for every move. And you're going to treat that account like it's a $100,000 fund. Because if you don't build those habits now, you sure as hell won't have them when more money's involved. Ask any experienced trader. The biggest drawdowns they ever had weren't because of bad entries. They were because of bad mindsets. That's why we're still not trading yet. You're studying the inner market, your market. What's your personal drawdown limit? At what point do you spiral emotionally? How long can you go without trading before you feel behind? That's data. That's edge. The longer you can delay gratification, the more powerful you become in the market. Why? Because most traders are addicted to immediacy. They need action. They need movement. And when you need something from the market, it owns you. But you're different. You're learning to want nothing from it but truth. You don't trade for excitement. You trade for clarity. That shift, that's rare and powerful. Now let's talk about identity. If I asked you right now, are you a trader? You might hesitate. You might say, well, I'm trying to be, but let me stop you. You are a trader the moment you start thinking like one. Not when you make your first $1,000, not when you go full-time, not when you buy a funded account. When your mindset shifts from chasing to crafting, from reacting to preparing, that's when you become a real trader. And here's how you embody that identity. You build a routine. Even with just $100, you start treating this like a profession. You have a morning process. You track your stats. You write in your journal. You review your setups, even if you didn't take them. Why? Because trading isn't something you do. It's someone you become. So from now on, you don't say, I'm just trying this out. You say, I'm a developing trader. You say, I'm building the habits that will make me elite, because you are. Now, let's ground this into action. For the next 7 days, you don't take a single trade. You build your system. Not just a technical system, an emotional system. Your daily 5. Chart review. 15 minutes. Pick one market, one asset. Study its recent movement, not to predict, but to observe. Journal entry. 10 minutes. Track how you feel. What triggered you today, inside or outside the market? Trade sim. 15 minutes. Use a simulator, paper trade, or even just screenshot backtesting. Train your pattern recognition. Mindfulness check. 5 minutes. One intentional pause. One moment of stillness. Breathe. Observe. Train your mental state like your chart reading. Review your identity. 5 minutes. Speak it. Write it. I am a professional.
I am building skill, not chasing outcome. You do this for a week, and I promise you'll start to feel something shift, because now you're trading with intention. And intention is more valuable than any indicator. This is the grind no one sees, the part that doesn't go viral, but it's the part that makes the legends. You're doing more than managing an account. You're managing yourself. And if you can do that with $100, you can do it with anything.
Chapter 3. Strategy and Risk. Planning your micro battle. You've spent the last 2 sections exploring the raw, unfiltered truth about your inner market, the emotional battlefield where true trading is fought and won. Now it's time to step into the arena with an actionable plan. With your modest $100, every single decision matters. Here, your goal is not to mimic the high rollers or chase windfalls. It's to craft a system that protects your capital while sharpening your trading acumen through micro battles that build an unbreakable mindset. You start by acknowledging the brutal fact: your capital is small, and the stakes for error are equally punitive. But instead of feeling defeated by your limited means, you harness this constraint as your greatest teacher. With a mere $100, you must execute every trade with the precision of a surgeon. This is not about brute force, it's about finesse, discipline, and respect for risk. Your journey is no longer about chasing quick profits. It's about nurturing the habits and strategies that lay the foundation for a resilient, calculated trader. Your first task is to determine your risk per trade. While the allure of big wins might be tempting, remember that every dollar lost is a lesson learned and a potential setback to your progress. You decide that risking 1 to 2% of your account per trade is the only acceptable compromise. In practical terms, with $100, that means never risking more than $1 or $2 on a single trade. This may seem trivial, but consider this: each micro trade isn't just about winning or losing. It's an opportunity to sharpen your trade management and adherence to your plan. Over time, you'll build muscle memory and the mental fortitude needed to face larger stakes. This approach forces you to appreciate the subtlety of the markets. Every entry, every exit must be justified by your strategy and not by the impulse of the moment. You begin to focus on quality over quantity, meticulously designing entries and exits that are precise and methodical. You're not just looking for price patterns, you're reading the market's pulse. This level of detail, honed by disciplined risk management, fosters a mindset that can weather even the harshest market storms. With your risk parameters set, you turn your attention to the strategy. Trading isn't about finding a magic indicator or a secret formula. It's about discovering a method that resonates with your personality and trading style. For you, this means starting with simplicity. You decide to focus on one market, an asset that's not overly volatile, one you can study deeply without the chaos of multiple influencing factors. It might be a major currency pair or a blue-chip stock that moves with discernible trends. Keeping your focus narrow allows you to avoid the pitfalls of over-diversification when you're just starting out. Every morning before the market opens, you develop a ritual. You review charts, read up on market news, and most importantly, scan your own journal for any lingering emotional residue from previous trades. You use these insights to set clear entry and exit points for the day. You commit to not letting emotions dictate your strategy. Instead, your decisions are guided by objective criteria. You ask yourself, is this trade in line with my plan? Am I risking what I can afford to lose? This reflective inquiry becomes as routine as your morning coffee, solidifying your trading identity with every deliberate choice. Then comes the moment of trade execution, a moment of truth where discipline meets opportunity. As you analyze the charts and line up your potential trades, you remind yourself that every trade is a micro battle. Some days you might miss an ideal entry. Other days, a trade might not work out as expected. But each outcome is a step in the learning process. When the trade hits your stop loss, you don't see it as a failure. Instead, you recognize it as data, a piece of the larger puzzle that's helping to refine your strategy.
Conversely, when a trade works, you don't let success inflate your ego. Instead, you meticulously review what went right, ensuring that when the market pulls away, you stick to the plan and don't let your emotions override your strategy. Risk management extends beyond the size of your positions. It involves managing the psychological risk that comes with each trade. You practice the art of detachment, observing your trades with a calm, clinical precision. When you hit your target, you don't immediately run off to celebrate or start planning your next big move. Instead, you pause. You take a moment to breathe, record your thoughts, and adjust your strategy if necessary. This reflective practice isn't just about avoiding mistakes, it's about becoming methodically resilient. Another crucial component in your micro battle is learning when to sit on the sidelines. In trading, inactivity can be as powerful as action. There will be days when the market's noise is overwhelming, when your carefully designed setups failed to materialize. On these days, the disciplined trader knows that not trading is trading. By waiting patiently for that clear, optimal moment, you protect your capital and avoid the risk of making impulsive decisions. In those quiet moments, you learn to trust the process rather than fighting the chaos. You start to see that the real battle isn't against the market, it's against your internal compulsions. Every time you successfully resist an impulsive trade, every moment you choose strategy over emotion, you're winning a small battle that compounds into a formidable war against the irrational impulses that have undermined countless traders before you. To cement these habits, you develop a daily routine that integrates backtesting and review sessions. After the market closes, you allocate time to review your trades, both the wins and the losses. You scrutinize your entries, your exits, and most importantly, your emotional responses. Did you feel tempted to deviate from your plan? What did that tell you about your current state of mind? This period of reflection becomes your most powerful teacher, allowing you to recalibrate and ensure that every subsequent trade is executed with increasing discipline and clarity. Remember, with every micro battle you engage in, you're not just growing your $100 account, you're fortifying the very core of your trading identity. Each setback is a lesson, each minor victory a step toward mastering the relentless environment of the markets. In this journey, discipline is your shield and patience your sword. You're not merely trading, you're refining a philosophy that will guide you long after your account grows beyond $100. By managing risk meticulously and forging a strategy tailored to your strengths, you build the psychological resilience necessary to navigate both calm markets and chaotic downturns. As you close this session, imagine yourself in a few months with a thicker skin and a sharper mind, having transformed that initial $100 into the building blocks of a formidable trading career. Every single micro trade is not just about accumulating wealth. It's about accumulating wisdom, reinforcing habits, and cultivating a mindset that thrives under pressure. Now, take a deep breath. Acknowledge that every decision, every trade is a step forward in this grand experiment. With each calculated risk and every learned lesson, you're not managing $100. You're managing the most valuable asset of all, your mind. When you eventually stand at the crossroads of a new trade, armed with discipline and a meticulously honed strategy, you'll know it's not the size of your account that matters. It's the size of your conviction and the strength of your resolve. Chapter 4. The First Trade. From Theory to Trigger. You wake up with a different kind of tension in your chest today. It's not anxiety, not exactly. It's anticipation, because today you're going to do it. You're going to place your first real trade. Not a simulation, not a back test, not another paper trade with no emotional stakes. Today, $1 or $2 of real money, a tiny piece of your $100, is going into the market. But this isn't just about the trade itself. It's about the trigger, the decision-making threshold where everything you've been learning gets put to the test. This is the moment where traders are born or broken. You sit down, open your chart, run your scans, breathe. This isn't adrenaline. It's awareness. It's control. You're not rushing into a random ticker because it's popping. You're not jumping into a setup someone mentioned on a Discord server. You've done the work. You've built the plan. You've rehearsed the rules. Now it's time to follow them. Not perfectly, but honestly. That's a key distinction. Honesty over perfection. Because this first trade isn't about being right. It's about being real. About seeing how you show up when something is truly on the line, even if it's only $1. You've got your entry level marked, your stop loss is in place, your take profit level is clear, and most importantly, your expectations are grounded. You tell yourself, this is one of 1,000 trades I'll place over the next few years. This doesn't define me, it refines me. Still, your hand hovers over the mouse. That small, seemingly trivial click holds weight now. Because once you place the order, the market will take over. You won't be in full control anymore. And that's what traders struggle with most. Not the market, but surrendering control. So you breathe again. You remind yourself of your risk. $1. That's it. That's all you've placed on the line. You can lose it and still continue, still learn, still grow. Click. You're in. Your first real trade is live. And suddenly everything in you awakens. Your pulse, your focus, your thoughts. You're watching the candle develop tick by tick. You start refreshing your order panel more than you need to. This is where the real work begins. Not the trade, but the space between entry and exit. This is where psychology comes screaming to the surface. You're tempted to move your stop, to take profits too early, to cancel the trade altogether before it plays out. That small dollar risk is triggering your nervous system in ways no simulation ever could. You feel it now, the irrational fear of loss, the impatience, the voice that whispers, "What if it turns? What if this ruins everything?" But you stay. Because you remember what you promised yourself, to follow the plan. No improvisation, no panic adjustments, no chasing. You stare down your discomfort and hold the line. And then it happens. Not a big move, maybe just a 2% shift in price, but it hits your take profit. Ding! Trade closed, profit booked. Maybe it's $1.10, maybe it's 85 cents. After fees, slippage, whatever, it's small, comically small. But it feels massive. Not because of the amount, because of what it means. You followed the process. You executed with discipline. You managed the emotion and let the trade play out. That's not luck, that's progress. And even if the trade had gone the other way and hit your stop loss, it still would have been progress. Because you didn't break your rules. You didn't sabotage yourself. You acted like a trader. Now you sit back and journal. Not about the result, but about you. How did you feel before the trade, during it, after it? Where did your discipline wobble? What thoughts were loudest? Where did you notice tension in your body? This is your gold. You're not here to obsess over green or red. You're here to build awareness, because awareness precedes control. You begin to see something others miss. The trade itself is just a mirror. It reflects your relationship with uncertainty. It reveals your internal biases. It shows you where your belief in yourself is still weak. So now you've tasted it, the real thing. And what you realize is it's not magical. It's not this Hollywood moment where fireworks go off and you're bathed in golden light. It's quiet, measured, simple, but powerful. Because you no longer feel like a spectator, you feel like a participant. One trade in, and you already understand something most traders never do. Success in trading isn't about big wins. It's about controlled reps. You don't need to make $50 on every trade. You need to take 1,000 boring, disciplined, low-risk trades that teach you to execute under pressure. That's the game. Not gambling, not glory, consistency. And that changes how you think about everything. You stop asking, how much can I make this week? And start asking, how well can I execute this week? You stop focusing on the outcome of each trade and start focusing on the execution of your system. And slowly, something begins to shift in you. Your self-talk becomes more focused, more neutral, less emotional. You go from, please let this win, to, let's see how this setup performs. That's evolution. Your confidence no longer comes from wins. It comes from fidelity to your process. Now you're thinking like a professional. And as the day ends, you close your journal with one simple sentence. I showed up today. Not to get rich, not to escape, but to grow. And tomorrow, you'll show up again.
Chapter 5. The Boring Edge. Building Power Through Repetition. You wake up the next morning, and there's no rush, no fireworks, no anticipation of some miracle trade that will blow up your account in the best way. It's just another day. And this is where 90% of traders fall apart. Because it's not the losing that gets them, it's the boredom. Let that sink in. Not the pain of a red day, not the anxiety of risk, the boredom. You see, most people come to trading because they're tired of routine. They want excitement. The market becomes a fantasy land where they think money can come fast and life will finally feel alive. But if you're doing this right, that fantasy dies quickly. Because real trading, profitable trading, is mechanical, repetitive, monotonous even. It's a game of finding one or two edges and executing them over and over and over again. You don't become elite by constantly reinventing yourself. You become elite by becoming lethal at the basics. That's your mission now. The market opens, and you already know what you're looking for. You've seen this setup a dozen times in backtests. You've walked through it in your sim trades. It's familiar, not flashy. You mark your levels, wait for confirmation, enter the trade with small size, you manage your stop, and when price moves as planned, you exit. Clean, simple, boring. But after you close the trade, you feel something stir inside you. Not adrenaline, not pride, satisfaction. Because you did what you said you would do. You executed. No overthinking, no chasing, no guessing. That feeling, that's the edge. And it has nothing to do with the setup itself. It's the repetition of correct behavior, the stacking of process over time. This is the part no one wants to hear, that greatness is built in silence, not in dramatic moments, not in going all in, but in relentless execution of a boring edge. You look at your results. Maybe you're up 30 cents. Maybe you're down $1. Does it matter? Not really. Because the result isn't the goal. The behavior is. And here's where the deeper truth kicks in. The only edge that lasts is you. Your emotional control, your ability to stay focused when the trade is slow, your willingness to walk away when the market gives nothing, your restraint when everything looks tempting but isn't in your plan. These are edges that never decay. Indicators fade, strategies become crowded, news cycles change, but your ability to master repetition, that's forever. So you start to change the way you think about your trading week. You stop asking, how many trades can I take this week? And start asking, how many times can I follow my rules this week? You become obsessed, not with results, but with obedience to your edge. It becomes meditative. Every time you wait for confirmation, every time you size correctly, every time you do nothing when the market gives nothing, you become more powerful. You're not just trading for capital, you're trading for control. This is what makes the greats different. They don't show up for the dopamine, they show up for the craft. They can go days, even weeks, without a single trade and not lose faith.
because they know that mastery is built between trades, in the quiet, in the waiting. That's your job now, to fall in love with the repetition, with the boredom, to stop needing every day to feel significant, and instead to stack discipline like bricks, quietly, relentlessly. You journal again that night, and this time you notice something strange. There's less chaos in your notes, fewer emotional swings, more objectivity. You're not saying things like, "I hope I get a good trade tomorrow." You're writing, "Today I executed 2 setups correctly. I walked away when I needed to. I honored my stop loss without hesitation." And suddenly it hits you. This is who I am now. You're becoming someone new, not because you've made more money, but because you've made better decisions. That identity shift, that's everything. Most traders never get here. They bounce from strategy to strategy, chasing results without building process. But you're building something real, something permanent. The truth is, there is no magic setup that will make you rich. There is only repetition of the right behaviors in the face of uncertainty, fear, and boredom. That's the boring edge, the one nobody wants to develop, the one nobody talks about, but it's the only one that works. So you keep showing up, even when the trade isn't exciting, even when the chart is flat, even when your profit is too small to matter. You keep showing up because you know what's coming. Compounding, not just in money, but in clarity, in resilience, in belief. And one day soon, that boring edge will become your competitive advantage. Because while everyone else is chasing excitement, you'll be quietly building precision. While they burn out, you'll scale up. While they seek signals, you'll become one. All because you chose to master the boring. So here we are, the end of this 5-part journey. And if you made it through every section, seriously, respect, because that tells me something about you. You're not just here for signals. You're not here to gamble. You're here to become a real trader. You started this with $100, just a small account. But along the way, something bigger shifted. Because trading, it was never about the money. It was always about you, your emotional control, your discipline under pressure, your ability to wait, observe, and not react like everyone else. That's what this was all about. You didn't just learn when to buy and sell. You learned when to walk away, when to pause, when to hold the line. You learned how to journal your reactions, track your mental cycles, and use small trades to expose deep psychological patterns. And that's rare. Most traders blow their first account, not because they lacked information, but because they lacked self-awareness. But now, you know better. You've built your risk muscle. You've sat through boredom and resisted FOMO. You've taken clean losses and walked away stronger. And if you keep showing up with that mindset, the numbers will come. You'll scale when your habits are ready. You'll grow when your process demands it, not because you chased it, but because you earned it. This is the edge that doesn't fade. Not a setup, not an indicator, but emotional mastery. If you can stay consistent, keep your ego in check, and keep stacking boring wins, that $100 won't just turn into $500 or $1,000 someday. It'll turn into confidence, clarity, power. And no matter how big your account gets, you'll remember exactly where it started. With one decision, one trade, one quiet promise to yourself, I'm going to do this right, even if it takes time. So keep going. Keep journaling. Keep refining. Your edge isn't something you find. It's something you build. And if you're ever feeling stuck or slipping, come back here. Rewatch, reread, reconnect. Because the market will always test you. But now, you're ready for the test. Thanks for walking this path with me. See you in the next chapter of your journey. Trade well, stay sharp.